sports.
We will be talking about the NHL's opening week. The Jets surprising the win against the Eagles, college football, the Dolphins-Panthers game, and fantasy football.
The first game we will be recapping is the Bruins' defeat of Connor Bedard and the Blackhawks in the Bruins home opener.
The first overall pick, Connor Bedard, scored his first goal in his first NHL game.
Yeah. Schmitty, how do you feel about how Bedard's second game went?
I think his second game went great. It was a great game for him. Obviously, scoring his first goal. It was the only goal of the game for the Blackhawks because they're playing against the Bruins. The Bruins are a great team. They just, after last season, they just need to bounce back season for the Bruins. But they won their first game this season. Bedard had a great game, I thought.
Yeah. Obviously, the Bruins are a much better team than the Blackhawks. And the fact that the only goal that they scored was from Bedard, it shows something.
Yeah. On the other side of Bruins, David Pastrnak, Bruins star player, had 2 goals at the game opener at TD Garden. And then also the rookie, Matt Poitras, had his first NHL point, which is big for him. I think he's going to contribute to the Bruins winning a lot this season. He's a great rookie. He's going to play great this year.
Yeah, I think Poitras can definitely be a huge draft steal for the Bruins.
Mm-hmm. As well, the Bruins' Vezina goaltender, Linus Ullmark, first game back in the crease. He had 20 saves in his season debut. How do you think he played?
I mean, he played all right. I mean, he's got an elite defense in front of him. So that wasn't much from him. We can definitely see more, though.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to the next game, where we have the New York Rangers loss against the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
Boone Jenner recorded his second career hat trick in this game against the New York Rangers. Ryan, as a Rangers fan, how do you think the loss was bad for the New York Rangers for this game?
I mean, it was definitely an issue that they lost to a team like Columbus and gave up 5, but they did show that they could play a lot better when they played against Arizona. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. Goals from Justin Danforth and David Jurek for the Columbus Blue Jackets, as well as the 3 goals from Boone Jenner. Blue Jackets first-round pick, Adam Fantilli, he didn't have any points, but he was a big contribution to the team's win. He had a good game. He's on the power play. He's doing great. So he's having a good season so far.
Yeah, he can be a huge piece for that Columbus team. Mm-hmm. Also, with the Rangers goals from Gustafsson, Cooley, and Kreider. Kreider, he's been elite this year. Already has 4 goals in the Rangers' 3 games that they've played. And sorry, you.
Yeah, Kreider just in general, he's just a great player. His the way he just sees the puck when he's on the power play, the tipping, everything about his game is just amazing.
And Eric Gustafsson's goal was pretty funny. Mm-hmm. It just bounced around a lot.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting it. Hit a couple Blue Jackets in front of the net. And Will Cooley, he's a very hardworking player for the Rangers. More of a depth guy, but it was good to see him get a goal. Mm-hmm. And the final game we'll be recapping is the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Minnesota Wild.
Austin Matthews has back-to-back nights with hat tricks. What 2 crazy nights for him he's had in the start of this season.
Yeah. How do you think Matthews' season is going to go after these 2 crazy games?
Well, I think his season right now he's on pace for over 60 goals. I get it. It's only 4 games into the season, but 6 goals in 2 games, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a lot of goals, especially for playing against NHL players. Matthew is an elite player playing in the NHL for an elite team, but just scoring 2 goals, or not 2 goals, 6 goals in 2 games is just crazy.
And Bertuzzi's first goal as a Maple Leaf, also pretty big.
Yep.
A guy's bounced around a lot lately.
Especially coming from the Bruins from
Detroit,
coming off of the Bruins roster, going to the Maple Leafs. That's kind of that's big for him, moving from the Maple Leafs to the moving from the Bruins to the Maple Leafs.
It's not really a huge adjustment though, because both teams have pretty
they're pretty
big offenses.
Yeah. And then also wild goals from Matt Boldy, Brandon Duhame, and Ryan Hartman and Marco Rossi.
Yeah, guys like Marco Rossi, Matt Boldy are some pretty sneaky good young guys.
Yeah, Matt Boldy, he's just young. He has a great future ahead of him. I think he will do great. For the Wild, especially with Kirill Kaprizov.
Yeah, they have enough veterans, and the fact that they have all these young guys to go with the veterans is pretty crazy for them. That'll do it for our weekly NHL coverage.
Next up, we will have Jesse and his weekly Jets rant.
Welcome back to Left Bench Sports, and today we'll be talking about the long-awaited Jets and Eagles game. So somehow they actually managed to beat the Eagles this week, which shocked me more than everybody else, but that's beside the point. It's definitely one of the biggest games that they'll play all year, and I don't even know how to explain how good of a win that was for them and how good of a position it's going to put them in. And, I've said in weeks past that I would need more time to see whether Zach Wilson could actually handle the big games and perform well in them, and this win definitely qualifies as proof that he can, obviously. I mean, biggest game of the year. He played exceptionally well against a tough defense and a really tough team. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl last year. Can't have been easy, which is really the shock of the century, as I'm going to say all day, if I'm being honest, considering how he played at the start of the year. I mean, Wilson was not at all playing good or looked like he could beat a team like this. And, and that wasn't easy because Hurts played really – he played all right this week. I mean, it wasn't great. He did have an interception or a couple interceptions, but the other two weren't really his fault. It was really only the one that he threw that was a wide open pick. And Wilson had a decent game. I mean, he had 19 for 33 completions and 155 passing yards. But Hackett didn't really have him pass the ball much. He handed it off more to Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. And talking about the Jets defense, I mean, they really came in clutch this week and kept the pressure on the Eagles. And, I think the Eagles offense kind of dismissed them and said, hey, it's whatever. We'll run right through them like they're Swiss cheese. But they really kept it close, and they gave Wilson and the Jets offense some wiggle room there and some fallback areas. And I think that's really one of the biggest key components that helped the Jets win a really tough game, probably one of the toughest games that they'll play all season, if not the toughest. And so an all-around great performance from the Jets. And now I think I personally can trust Wilson to lead this team to possibly a playoff run, but it's still pretty early to say that. And, I'm not a Jets fan either, so this is pretty unbiased. But if anything, I'd be rooting against the Jets because I'm a Giants fan. But that's about it for the Jets and the Birds this week. And next up, we have Luke and Jake on college football.
Hello and welcome back to another segment of college football on Left Bench Sports. This week I have Luke joining me as Smitty took off this week. He's talking about hockey with Ryan. Let's get started. Week 7 of college football. We had another week of great games. The first game we're covering is Washington versus Oregon, a highly anticipated matchup in the Pac-12. Luke, going into this game, who did you have?
I actually had Oregon winning. I really like Michael Penix. I think he's going to be really good. He's a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
And Oregon, I don't think is as good as them.
Yeah, I think I had Washington winning. I think I had the same outcome as what actually happened. I thought it was going to be a close game, both great teams, but I think Washington just has the edge. Michael Penix is just a great quarterback. 302 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Do you think Michael Penix could win Heisman?
Yeah, I think he definitely has potential to win Heisman. I mean, talking and going into the game, everyone thought like him or Bo Nix, either of them could win Heisman. And then after the game, he was great. They won the game. He's clearly one of the favorites now to win the Heisman.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think Penix is definitely first in the Heisman race right now. But we'll have to see. There's a lot of good quarterbacks, so we'll just have to see. So going into halftime, it was 22-18 Washington, and Michael Penix throws a touchdown 5 minutes into the third quarter. So, being up 11, did you think that potentially Washington was going to break away, or did you think Oregon was still in this game?
I don't know. Oregon obviously is a great offense. Both of them have a great offense. So, I mean, Washington easily could have broke away with it if they just got the ball back a couple more times without Oregon scoring. But Oregon's offense kept it close the whole game. And, yeah, that's why it was a close game at the end, because both offenses were great the entire game.
Yeah, I think Oregon actually surprised me. Bo Nix has been playing really well. 337 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. A touchdown pass in the third quarter. And Bucky Irving, I think he's a great running back. He's really shifty and elusive, but Oregon goes up 33-29 in the fourth. That definitely surprised me because I thought that Washington was going to just break away and end this game off, but obviously a lot of time left. Can't think that. Just going to the last drive of the game, though, or not the last drive for Washington, amazing drive for Michael Penix. 18-yard dime with 1:30 left, and then obviously just closing out the game. Oregon led in total yards by over 100 with over 541 total yards, but just a great game, probably game of the week. Great game from both teams, fun to watch. Next game we're covering is Notre Dame versus USC, another highly anticipated matchup, although I don't think it lived up to the hype.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, going into the game, there's another Heisman candidate in Caleb Williams. He might be the first overall pick in the draft, and he just did not play well. He had 3 interceptions in the first half, and Notre Dame capitalized on their good field position and just took over the game from there.
Yeah, I mean, going into this game, I think I had USC. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely had USC also. I mean, they were a great team, and they just had a bad game.
Yeah, I mean, that just definitely shocked me, the way they played. Caleb Williams, 3 interceptions in the first half, and then Notre Dame offense, they didn't even have to do much, really. They just had good field position off of the turnovers they got. And, you know, Audric Usteam with 2 short touchdown runs in the second quarter. So 24-6 going into halftime. Just shocks all around for everyone.
I think going to the game, Caleb Williams had thrown 1 interception the entire year. And then he threw 3 in this game. And that just led to Notre Dame taking over.
Yeah, just shocking for everyone. And it didn't really change in the second half. Jadarian Price, I mean, crazy 99-yard kick return to make it an 18-point game. And then icing on the cake in the fourth quarter, Xavier Watts with the fumble return. And then the touchdown.
Just more of their defense taking over the game.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Hartman didn't even really have to throw the ball. 13 completed passes, 126 passing yards, but definitely dominant performance for the Notre Dame defense. And underwhelming for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, now the last game we'll be talking about today is UNC versus Miami. Coming into the game, UNC was ranked 12 and Miami was 25. UNC keeps rolling and is now 6-0 for the first time since 1997.
Yeah,
so how do you think UNC played this game?
I think UNC did really good. UNC's been rolling this year, as you said. First time with such a great start in a while. Drake May balled out 273 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Where do you think he ranks as a Heisman candidate?
Yeah, I think he's obviously right there with Penix and maybe Williams still. And also, first overall pick, he's in that conversation too. And drafted Caleb Williams. But I think he could easily win Heisman.
Yeah, so for my top 3 Heisman candidates, I don't know about you, but I definitely have, I think, Penix first. I think Drake May is there. But also from Oklahoma, I think I have Dylan Gabriel. He's been doing really good. And with that just really awful game from Caleb Williams, I think that, other quarterbacks are starting to move higher up into the ranks. What about you? Who's your top 3?
Obviously, Drake May and Michael Penix, they've both been playing great the entire year. And I think Caleb Williams does take a little bit of a step back after a rough game. He can still work his way back up there. And he's a great quarterback, so he could. I don't know who I'd have there. Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State, the receiver. He's been great for them. And if he continues, he could have a chance to win Heisman, even though it's usually quarterbacks.
Yeah, he's crazy. I mean, I know Devontae Smith won Heisman, so maybe another chance for a receiver. But Amari and Hampton for UNC also had a big game, 197 rushing yards and a touchdown. It was a close game until halftime, 17-14 Miami, but Drake May and UNC just took over in the third quarter. 3 touchdown passes. Miami tried to push for a comeback in the fourth, but just not really enough time. I mean, Tyler Van Dyke threw 2 touchdown passes, but one of them was just in garbage time, and at that point, UNC is too strong of a team to let up that lead.
Yeah, they've been just playing really well on offense and defense, and there's nothing Miami could do once they fell behind.
Yeah, UNC definitely surprising a lot of people this year, and you can see if they move higher up in the ranks as they're now 10th. Well, that's all we have for Week 7 of college football. Stay tuned for more coverage next week as we have some big games coming.
Welcome back to Left Bench Sports. I'll be giving an overview of the Dolphins and Panthers game. Starting with Tua, we got 31 attempts, 21 completions, 262 yards in total, and there were 3 outstanding touchdowns by the offense. 2 were runs by Raheem Mostert by the end zone, and another one was a deep throw to Tyreek Hill for the 41-yard touchdown. So Tua, he had an average of 8.5 yards per play. His pass completion percentage was 87.1%. So Tua overall, in my opinion, is a very good player. He's got a lot of weapons around him and a really good O-line this year to help him out in general. Miami's a very well-rounded team this year. They have many great players on their O-line now making a huge difference, like Connor Williams, the 3rd-ranked center in the NFL at the moment, Robert Hunt, the 8th-ranked guard, Kendall Lamb, the 10th-ranked left tackle, who is another very good player, who is actually taking over for Taron Armstead now at this point because he just got injured in the 4th week against the Bills. He is actually a very good player. He's also ranked highly as another offensive lineman. So, as you could tell, the Dolphins have an extremely strong line in front of their special guys in the back. Tua has tons of help all around. Great wide receivers such as Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to help him out on the wide receiver spots. His O-line is especially strong this year. So, overall, Tyreek, he's a great player, but with all the help he has around him, it makes the job of being the QB so much easier in general. And this year, with the 2023-2024 NFL season, the O-line has made a huge difference just from the start, you could tell, and it's just going to keep moving on. The Dolphins' skill positions and two of them are much harder to deal with now for other teams because everybody all around on the offense is a lot more skilled than a lot of the other teams are underdeveloped. Now on to Raheem Mostert. He had a phenomenal game this week against the Panthers. Here's his stats. 17 attempts, 115 yards, 6.8 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, and a lot of broken tackles. So Raheem, he had an absolutely great game, in my opinion. I watched him. He had 2 handoffs against the Carolina Panthers towards the second and third quarter in the end of the game. And he was just running through people like a train. He was unstoppable at this point. He is just a really, really good player. A lot of potential, great skill. And his agility also helps. And he's got a lot of unique abilities with him that can help out. Now on to Tyreek Hill. He had an average of 27.2 yards per carry and 1 touchdown. Tyreek Hill, overall, he's an insanely good player, if not one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He's very unique, has incredible attributes such as his unbeatable athleticism, his explosive agility, and his change of direction is likely, if not the best, in the entire NFL. Along with many other categories, he ranks very highly in catching, yards per carry, total yards, and yards per game, along with many others. Tyreek Hill, overall, great player, extremely fast, incredible athleticism, and many other great attributes for him. One of my favorite players personally, great guy, brings a lot of enthusiasm to the games, and he's going to keep it going. He's an absolute monster. All right, so as we know, the final score of the Miami Dolphins and the Carolina Panthers game was 42-21. So overall, great game for the Dolphins. Panthers, not the best competition they're going to see this season. They're probably ranked around the same as the Giants, a lower-end team that's definitely underdeveloped, has a couple guys that, need some more experience, and it's just going to take time for these types of teams to develop and get where they need to be throughout the NFL, and that's all I got for you guys. So now, that's all for the Miami Dolphins and the Carolina Panthers game. Up next, we have Luke and Myles discussing their picks for this week of fantasy football.
Hello and welcome back to Left Bench Sports. I'm Myles Berkowitz and this is Luke Jaclin. Now I'll be talking about some of our favorite waiver wire pickups for the upcoming fantasy week. Well, first I'd like to talk about Jonnu Smith. This is third team in his career, and he had a nice game last week. He had 4 catches for 36 yards and a touchdown. And the thing that I really like about him is that the Falcons run 12 personnel a lot. I think they should run a lot of 2 tight end packages with him and Kyle Pitts. I mean, they drafted Pitts 4th, and they're not even using him, so they should, in theory, be using Jonnu.
Yeah, Jonnu Smith was great with Tennessee, and then he went to New England and wasn't as good. I mean, he had 1 touchdown in 2 years with New England, but New England doesn't score that many touchdowns, so I guess it's fine. Now he's with Atlanta, and he's been good the last couple of weeks. He got a touchdown a couple of weeks ago. He has 1 touchdown this year, but he should continue to get better. As you've said, they've stopped using Kyle Pitts, like, almost completely, so they need a tight end to throw the ball to, and it seems like Jonnu Smith could be that guy.
Yeah, what I really like about him, I think he's a really good player. New England obviously didn't use him correctly, and I think with the Falcons and Arthur Smith's offense, I think he's going to be in there, not also for receiving, but for blocking. That should just equate to more snaps for him, and I think the touchdowns will come back, obviously, as he's out of New England, so I really like him.
Yeah, I agree. Next, I would like to talk about Rashawn Johnson. He's Bears running back. He's a 5th-round pick this year, rookie from Texas, and he scored a little bit of points in fantasy, but now he's going to be the Bears' lead back with Khalil Herbert getting hurt. He didn't play last week because he was also injured, but it seems like he'll be back this week, and he'll still get a couple weeks before Herbert comes back to try and completely prove himself and then be the starter there for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think this could be like a Kenneth Walker situation from last year where the starter gets injured and then the rookie running back just comes in and takes over the backfield. Now, he does have some competition with Deontay Foreman, who they brought in last year, but I think Rashawn is going to really take over the backfield, as I said, and I think it's just going to be a really fun time to watch with him. Obviously, he was a backup in college with Bijan, so I think now with a starting opportunity, the Bears' offense isn't great, but Justin Fields is out, and that's going to take away some of the rushing from Fields, and that will hopefully give more snaps to Rashawn Johnson.
Yeah, he's a backup in college, so we've never really seen what he can completely do. It's like there's anything. Everyone knows what Foreman is. He's a backup running back. We don't know what this kid is. He could be Johnson. He could be great. You don't know. You've never really seen him, so he could end up becoming really, really good on this Bears team.
Yeah, he did have 17 points in week 1, so at least they were using him in the passing game, so that's good for him. But finally, I'd like to talk about Wan'Dale Robinson, who finished as the wide receiver 24 this week while catching all 8 of his targets for 62 yards and 14 fantasy points. I really do like him this year. I think he's talented. Coming off the torn ACL, I think he's just going to get a whole lot faster. The ACL wasn't as bad of a devastating injury as it was in years prior. I think it's really going to help him, and I think with the Giants, I know they don't have a great quarterback, obviously, with Tyrod and Daniel Jones. I don't even know who's going to be thrown to him at the end of the day, but I think he's a good enough player to get enough targets, and I really like what he's doing.
Yeah, he's a great talent. I mean, he could be good. His biggest issue is going to be who's going to get him the ball. Their Giants don't really have a great quarterback. Actually, Daniel Jones isn't that good at all to get him the ball, and they don't have an offensive line to block for Daniel Jones, so he could be able to throw the ball. So it's going to be tough for him to get the ball, but if they could get it to him, he's going to end up being really good. The fast guy from Kentucky, his second year, didn't really play last year, only played the first couple weeks, and we'll see what he could do.
Yeah, I really like his quickness, obviously, but as you said, we don't know who's getting him the ball. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of wide receiver screens, short passes, get him out quick. But what I really like with him is his run after catch. I think that's where he's going to be in his best. I don't know if the route running is as good as it should be. He's only in his second year, and he's coming off an ACL, so I don't think the route running is going to be that great, but I think his run after catch is really going to help him, and that's going to get him fantasy points. Thank you for watching, as we will see you next week on Left Bench Sports.